Yo, 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 I'm Candy, I be knitting, and today I be celebrating my 100th episode. Uh, I'm going to answer some questions and kind of have a little celebration, something a little bit out of the ordinary because it feels like a significant milestone. I've been doing this for 2 years now and I've enjoyed it a lot. I've enjoyed all of you, everyone who's left a comment, subscribed, followed me on Instagram, all of that stuff. Uh, Part of the difference this week is I'm actually sitting on my floor. So when you see me, I'm usually sitting on a chair in front of this baby. This is a crafting table. It's about waist high. And this is where a good chunk of my yarn and books are stored, in case you were ever curious about that. I think it came from Wayfair, and it's got 6 cubes, and it's got yarn and books and baskets and the like. And then it's a nice waist high height, so I can do my drum carder on top, and I have all my knickknacks on top of this. The other difference in the room is I'm actually wearing knits for a change today. This is the Purl Soho drawstring top that I modified into a dress, and I'm not going to stand up now because this is a delicate operation, but I will show y'all when it's off of me on a future episode. I won't do like a whole deep dive episode, but just showing you how much yarn I used and some of the modifications I made. Little halter neck, I'll show you how I made this drawstring and the like. But it is nice because I finally have something that I can wear on the show because I get very hot when I do this. I thought I would just answer some questions because I've been doing this for a while and I don't know at what point people come in, or I might gloss over some things and you're just like, well, who are you? What is going on? And so a wonderful commenter mentioned a blogger called Purl on Fire, and Purl on Fire is actually based in Virginia, and I was not aware of this blogger. And they have a hashtag tag a knitter. And so they have 2026 tag a knitter, and on their blog there's a series of questions. She answered some of the questions for herself, and then the obvious impetus is that other knitters would answer these questions and answer it themselves. And so I will have the link to that blog with the questions in the comments, and let's get to it. The questions are written in different, what do you call that? Categories. And so we'll start with the introduce yourself category. Do you consider yourself a beginner, intermediate, or advanced knitter? For a long time, I would have said intermediate, but I do think over this past year, doing a lot more color work, I would identify more as advanced. To me, it's a spectrum. So just because I'm advanced doesn't mean I know everything that there is to know about knitting. And to me, being advanced doesn't mean that you know everything or that you've done everything. It's having enough wherewithal or self-awareness to kind of get to the right answer, to know where to do the research, to know when to question a pattern. I think of it as like my experience with the ranunculus. If y'all recall one of my videos I did about, I knit like 3 different ranunculi, and my first time knitting the ranunculus, the cast on was just so tricky for me, and I literally could not do it. I did not understand it. I watched the video, didn't get it. So that was like my beginner phase. Then when I got to be more intermediate, I went back to the pattern and I was able to follow the video and do what they did in the video. I was like, okay, this is what they want me to do. Perfect. And then as I became a more advanced knitter, I was able to knit a ranunculus and be like, I could make the decision for myself and say, you know what? I understand that cast on now, but I actually want to do a German twisted cast on. And so that progression of 100% relying on the pattern, maybe knowing how to knit, maybe knowing how to purl, cast off, bind off, and then switching to, okay, I know some techniques now. Also, I think knowing when you're intermediate to me is like knowing when you've made a mistake and then knowing how to fix the mistake. And then being more advanced means to be able to, yes, look at the pattern, but then question the pattern and then make the best decision based on your own experience of how to deal with things in the pattern. Like maybe I want to make the body longer, or maybe the math is wrong in that pattern, because when I remember being a beginner and maybe working on a pattern where I'm just like, this doesn't seem right. And looking back, the pattern wasn't right, but I didn't have the confidence of myself to say, oh, that's wrong, you know? So long answer short, I would identify as an advanced knitter. As with any of these questions, I would love to know what y'all think, what your definition of those terms are, and how you identify anything I say. If you want to comment and debate below, I would love that. How old were you when you learned to knit? I was 33 going on 34. We're in August, so we're approaching what would be the 6th year anniversary of me learning to knit, and I am 39 going on 40. Do you do any other fiber crafts? Mostly I'm a knitter. Y'all know I spin my own yarn. I know literally the basic crocheting, and that is only as it relates to a knitting pattern. I have no interest in learning to crochet. Famous last words. I do very, very little weaving. I have a little pot holder loom. But most recently, there is going to be show and tell portion of this. It's not just going to be me yapping. I went to Scrap RVA, local craft thrift store, and I picked up a felting kit. And so I have this little guy now. I put on a movie the other night and spent a good portion of the movie working on him. And this is the Going Gnome from Happy Felting. It looked like someone was getting rid of all of their felting supplies and had donated them. And I've been curious about felting because I do have so much raw wool, and it's always nice to have something that's going to be a little bit quicker. It is true what they say about felting, though. It does take a lot longer than what you think. So I got through this much in the movie, and I still need to felt the body a little bit more and add all of the details. But they were selling all these kits, and the only thing I really needed, because like I said, I have so much wool and yarn, were the tools, but they were selling all the kits. And so I didn't want to go too crazy. So I bought this kit. It's the deluxe needle felting kit from Fiber Trends. And all the kits were $13, but I liked this one because it's $13, but it came with the foam mat and the tools, and then a bunch of, like, a whole array of fiber. And then they had a ton of other really cute kits, but at 13 bucks a pop, I couldn't buy all of them. So I bought some little individual packets of some fiber that I thought might be good for my drum carder and blending for spinning, and these were like $1 each. Felting fiber can be a little bit different because a lot of times I've noticed that they cut the ends, and sometimes the fiber is a bit coarser than what I would use for spinning, but still would be very useful. I got this little baggie of tools for $3, and then I bought this one for $13 because it is just a little gnome kit, but actually looking online, this kit goes for $30. Oh, actually I paid $12 for it. Yeah, this kit goes for like 30 something dollars, and it comes with all of the wool, and I love it because you can actually choose the skin tone of your gnome. So you can do, they had a kind of a peachy color, this tan color, and then a dark brown color. And I think it would be cute to make different skin tone gnomes, and you don't necessarily see that a lot with fantasy items. So I had to give him a home, or her, whatever I choose. I don't know what it'll look like when I'm done. So that's that. I'm just gonna save, I'm not like in a rush to do a lot with that. I thought it would be cute because I have some felted knit projects that I want to do, so I thought it would be cool to be able to add some embellishments to that, or just something fun to do on an afternoon. It might make like cute, like the pattern that came with this Fiber Trends is a little felted coaster, and so I just thought it'd be cute to just be able to make cute little things in an afternoon. I don't know if it'll overtake what I'm doing with my knitting or spinning. What are your non-fiber hobbies? In case you missed it, my social media presence started with gardening. That was like my first thing where I started my own Instagram, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this gardening thing. So that's probably the thing you're most aware of. Next thing, video games. I love Japanese RPGs, Japanese role-playing games. I like Persona, Final Fantasy. like a dragon. And besides that, lots of TV, lots of movies, lots of pop culture. Me and the mister love a good play or musical, love going to concerts. So any kind of cultural type events, arts. I used to get into writing and painting and drawing, but knitting has been my most creative outlet as of recently. And a little bit of reading, not so much reading as a lot of other knitters do. I'm not like devouring books, but I always kind of have a book on the back burner going. Right now I'm listening to the Dungeon Crawler Carl books. I know those are hot in the streets right now. But besides that, mostly knitting and watching really, really bad horror movies. That is probably my biggest hobbies right now. Who do you knit for most often? Definitely myself. I have branched out over the last year or so just because there is a limit to how much I can knit for myself, and I've also learned a lot about knitting and are more comfortable knitting for other people. But still mostly people that live in my house. Obviously my husband's socks have been heavily featured on this channel. Got more into knitting for my kids. I was very anti-knitting for children for a long time, and then it's just something so fun about a sweater being knit up very quickly. And now that my kids are a little bit older, they're not growing as dramatically as they did in the past. Like going from my younger daughter was just turning 1.5, going on 2 when I first started knitting, and so instantly growing out of things. But I actually knit her a toddler dress, and just the way she's grown, she just gets kind of taller, and the way knit clothes seem to be made, she only recently has said, okay, we can pass this dress on to some other child. Can you knit in the dark or without looking? Yes, I can. I often take my knitting to the movie theater or knit in the dark living room. I also knit and walk quite frequently. And this summer, I'm actually quite excited because maybe my reading will increase. I learned that if I'm just knitting stockinette in the round, I can read while I knit at the same time, because I can knit without looking, but when I'm reading, I get kind of distracted, and so I really need to focus on what I'm reading. But I think knitting in the round, and then learning how to, I use my phone actually, which is a great use for a smartphone, to weigh the book down so my pages aren't flying all over the place. And so I actually had a few knitting sessions this summer of just knitting in the round and reading a fiction novel, and I was able to actually internalize the story and knit at the same time, so that was really, really exciting. How big do you knit your gauge swatches? We've gone over this before. I think we went over this the last time we were together. I like to use my hand because my palm of my hand is just about 4 inches long, and so I usually cast on whatever the gauge, say it's 28 stitches per 4 inches, I'll cast on maybe 32, 36, 40 stitches. I'll just take a length that looks about right and do a German twisted cast on, and then I'll knit it to about the end of my hand, and that gives me something that kind of fits in the palm of my hand. If it comes out way smaller, then I know that I'm in trouble, but for the most part that works really well for me. Do you have an FO fail, a project you finished and immediately hid? Absolutely. I've been haunted, and that's the impetus behind this here, by the attempts at making a tank top that fits my body properly. And for a while I was infamous for coming to the yarn swap and just donating fully finished objects that were still connected to a ball of wool, because yes, absolutely, especially when you're like me and you're playing around with thrifted yarns or not doing a gauge swatch, I'll knit something up and I hate it, I'm not redoing it, it just gets donated. I don't want to fool with it anymore. Do you have a Mount Everest project, a project you aspire to knit one day? I did. That was my Wintersol by Jennifer Steingass, aka my Call the Midwife sweater. Full-on colorwork yoke, something I never thought I'd be able to do, did it. Besides that, there's not much else I don't think I can do at this point. Like, I feel like I did the things I came to do in knitting. I have yet to do all over cables. I haven't steeked anything, but I don't have, it doesn't feel impossible to me. There's nothing that's like, oh my goodness. As far as the Mount Everest metaphor goes, that definitely, I was looking through the yarn room and my bin, I have a 50-gallon tub that I put all of my hand spun into, and that thing is getting quite full. It's getting a little difficult to get the lid back on it. And so that's probably my future Mount Everest, like working through all of my hand spun, getting that pile down, and just executing on some things. But as far as technique goes, there's no limit to what I can do. So yeah, maybe technique, yeah, maybe steeking, maybe all over cables. I don't know. The next section is this or that, but we're gonna save that for the very end. So, favorites. What is your favorite stitch pattern? Yes, stockinette is a stitch pattern. Stockinette in the round definitely is a winner chicken dinner. I remember resenting garter stitch when I first learned to knit, because as a new knitter, I didn't realize when you knit flat, knit front, knit the wrong side and the right side, that's what makes garter stitch. And so I was expecting to get what I thought to be a knitted object, and I was getting garter stitch. And so I was like, oh, this is so ugly. And I was ready to like advance and like learn more techniques. But now looking like at this point, I actually think garter stitch is quite handsome, and there's definitely a place for it. Other than that, probably eyelets, any kind of lace. I like to do, that's probably my favorite. If you were to ask me like, what would you want to knit the rest of your life? Probably lace. Favorite finished object picture. Any picture I don't have to take. I am not a photographer. Respect to people who have skills in photography, and now I appreciate those skills in photography. Most of my finished objects are taken by members of my family, because getting the lighting right and waiting for the golden hour and making sure I zoom in on certain stitches and show colors that are true to life, all of that stress is removed. Like I don't, like, as long as someone else is taking the picture, I love it. Probably the exception to that is my husband's cloak. And I'll have my Instagram linked below as always. That was probably like my first time going like semi-viral or something. That had like a lot of impact. I made like this hooded, well, it was called The Hood by Cheyenne Harper? Brandi Cheyenne Harper. And then I extended it down into a cloak. And so I was very proud of just executing on that concept, because all he did was kind of give me a concept, and I found the hood pattern and made it into a cloak. But then for people to respond to the pictures like they did was pretty cool. But besides that, mostly any picture I don't have to take. I did a photo shoot on like the first day of school with my kids, and I had just finished my Pouf cardigan, so I had my daughter take some pictures of my Pouf cardigan, and I got some actual usable pictures, but then I also just got pictures where my head's cut off. It's just my arm, and so it's just a lot of fun. Trying to take it too seriously. Favorite increase method. I mean, it depends on the situation, right? I love a good invisible lifted increase. I've come to appreciate make one left, make one right, because I finally learned the difference and I have it memorized now. And so I'm like, anytime I can use that and actually know which side to put it on is super exciting. Yarn over is perfect for like a really delicate, lacy detail. And you really cannot beat a knit front back. If the pattern doesn't tell me what increase to use, usually a knit front back. KFB is just good workhorse increase. Favorite designer. Well, a few months ago, I probably would have said Stephen West was my favorite designer. Not so much excited about Stephen West anymore. And that's all I have to say about that. So I am on the hunt for my new favorite designer, someone I can like really get enthusiastic and excited about. I'm still gonna like knit I have his patterns, I own them. So, and I have things literally on the needles that I'm going to finish. But I'm definitely looking to branch out, because I realize that I do get like, once I get down a certain rabbit hole, I stay there. Like, you know, I've been knitting a lot of tin can knits patterns. Don't know if that's my favorite designer, just because mostly just kind of basic patterns, but I don't, you know, how so many different designers have like their specific aesthetic. I'd love to knit something by Lydia Morrow. I have a lot of Woolen Pine patterns saved. I do love to watch, I like watching Andrew Mowry's podcast on YouTube. Her patterns, I'm never sure, because I'm just like, that looks great on her. So I do have the ooey gooey, because I know I do like a circular yoke, and I would like to give her a try. And so I do have the ooey gooey on my list of patterns to try, but she just has such a specific vision, and I'm just like, I don't know how that will look on my body, but she just looks really great in it. So, and there's a few other people like that where I'm just like, oh wow, like Tiff Nealon, cute as a button. And I'm just like, oh, maybe one day. Favorite place to knit, just out and about, anywhere I can knit. At the movies, at the playground. I've been really enjoying this summer taking my kids to the playground. They're a little bit older now, so to where they can play more independently, so I can just sit on a bench and not interfere too much. Go to the pool. I just sit by the pool with my feet in the water and knit. And so it's just really cool to have something that I can take with me to you know, kill time, to focus on, to feel like I'm being productive or creative. When I usually, if I'm out and about, I'm kind of staring off into space. So it makes a big difference waiting at the doctor's office or at the pharmacy or wherever you are. Favorite yarn weight, DK, fingering, heavy fingering, light DK. Favorite fiber, wool, 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 wool. I feel like wool is cheating, because wool is just so versatile, especially if you talk like superwash versus non-superwash, but even just, you could just knit the same fiber from the same sheep over the course from the same sheep the same year. You're going to get fiber that's different on that sheep's body. Even if you were to drill down to certain breeds, it's no secret my favorite sheep breed is Cheviot. But yeah, favorite fiber, hands down, wool every time. Where do you like to shop for yarn? I love a good thrift store. I love Scrap RVA. Anytime there's a scrap store, a thrift store, a yarn swap. This whole dress is it from Scrap RVA? I think it's from Scrap RVA. I know for sure the blue is, because this blue was a gift from my family for a holiday, but the stripes, I don't know if all the stripes came from Scrap RVA. But I love a good thrift, a good swap, a good find, a good yarn offer up or buy nothing situation. Besides that, I love, it's like there's two sides to me. I also love going to a festival and just seeing more independent creators. Love just meeting a random farmer. My favorite hand dyers are 29 Bridges is my absolute favorite yarn dyer. Like the perspective of the color is just my coloring. I love Kim Dye's yarns. 29 Bridges is out of Maryland. Kim Dye's yarn is out of Richmond. Fiber, Green Goat Farms is my go-to for fiber. As far as commercial yarn goes, I love a good Lion Brand is probably my, like, as far as like acrylic goes. Knit Picks is probably the most, like, just really good basics. Like if you're like, okay, I just need a blue sweater, Knit Picks. Purl Soho, you want a little bit more luxury, but the price is still right. They always have sales. Love a good Purl Soho yarn. But you can't really beat the thrift store. This is the other thing I got from Scrap RV the other day. This is a $3 ball of lattice by Bernat. And I just never seen this yarn before. And I was like, I want to try this yarn, and I can try it for $3 and support a local business that is all about recycling and investing in the community. And that's, you know, I like Lion Brand, but I look for Lion Brand yarns at the thrift store, and then I can try different lines. This is Bernat from Yarn Inspirations. And this little ball of yarn is going to make like a little bolero or something for one of my kids. And yeah, like I said, $3, and this yarn goes for like $12, $15. So you can't beat it. Then the last of this section, which knitting content creators are you loving at the moment? This is a very difficult question for me because I could make a whole nother episode just talking about yarn YouTubers that I watch. My kids, well, my younger daughter definitely complains a lot because she's like, are you watching yarn again? I don't want to watch yarn. If I'm not watching a terrible horror movie, I'm probably watching YouTube yarny people. Because I'm, spinning, I listen to YouTube, or if I'm knitting, I'm probably listening to YouTube, dozens of YouTubers. So I was like, okay, let me narrow this down. And so for the purposes of this being my 100th episode, I thought I would highlight the YouTubers that actually influence this channel. And so hopefully if you like, well, actually probably, if you're watching me, you've definitely heard of these people. So when I first even had the inkling of starting a YouTube channel, it was at Barbara Knits and at Nerdy Knitting. And those are the two big ones where I was like, oh, if I had a YouTube channel, that's the channel I would make. Really into the art of knitting with a capital K, tutorial videos, book reviews, pattern deep dives, talking about technique, really, especially nerdy knitting, just going really deep into certain techniques. Okay, why do we bind off this way? Why do we do a decrease this way? And really demystifying a lot of that and really being a source of education at a time where so many things are either misinformation or behind a paywall. Just really just top of the line, just straight up information. The third person on that list, at Maker B, which is kind of the other side of that, where they are just super laid back, and that was the channel that told me you should make a YouTube channel. Because, Barbara Knits, Nerdy Knitting, I was like looking up to them, like, oh, I would love to do what they do one day. But Maker B was the one that was just like, oh, I don't have to wait to do that. I can do that as me, as I am right now, and knit the things that I want to knit and spin the way I want to spin and present myself the way I am right now. And that was a huge thing. And I felt like, oh, wow, this person represents me and I could be a representation for someone else. So those are like the three big ones that really inform this channel. Like if you watch their channel, like, okay, that's where you got it from. And so I love to give respect and credit where credit's due. Other people I'm watching right now, Amber Marie Knits. If you like my channel, you'll love Amber's channel because she's just 30 minutes straight shot. This is what I'm knitting. She does 30 minutes and she's able to tell you what books she's read and what TV shows she watches. And so it's just like boom, 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 good information, great voice. You feel like you're like just chilling with one of your friends. You don't feel like you're getting influenced by someone. Love Karcher Makes. I believe she lives in the Mid-Atlantic. She feels very relevant to me. Like, I'm like, we know this. I feel like we run in the same circle. We just missed each other somewhere. People that I feel like, because obviously I watch the big guys, but I just wanted to shout out a few other people that I feel like don't get the big fanfare that other people get. The Yarn Randomizer. She literally numbers every ball of yarn and has her husband pull out a number and she knits with whatever yarn he pulls out. And it just makes for great entertainment. And it's always something interesting and engaging and fun. Not just buying a whole bunch of yarn, but also using a whole bunch of yarn. Kiko's knitting podcast. She lives in Germany and she films out of her yarn store. And for everyone that's complaining that everyone's just knitting the same patterns, knitting with the same yarn, everything's beige, watch Kiko. Kiko is just like, if I'm knitter with a capital K, knitter, she is knitter in all caps and bold Comic Sans. And she does like the sock madness where you have to like do a challenge to knit these incredibly complex socks. She's got videos on like when the banana sock was really popular, but she does like really, really high skilled technical knitting and obscure patterns from books I've never heard of, using yarn that I can't get probably because she's in Germany. But she's just on it and just super smart. She's a knitting genius. And then someone that might surprise you that I love, Nougat Bar Knits, another person that films out of their yarn store, but she films out of her yarn store in Korea. And no, I don't speak Korean. No, I have no connection to Korea. But when I say yarn is a universal language, and I just find her infinitely watchable, and I instantly, you know, she pulls up a sweater, I'm like, oh, I know that sweater. You know, I know petite knit, I know this, I know that. And I don't translate it, I don't read the subtitles, I just get it. And if you're a knitter, you will get it too. And last but certainly not least, just this week, I came across a new YouTuber to me. Her name's Yarnover3000, which I think is a great name, and she's British, and she's a doctor. I've only watched a couple of her videos, so I'm just getting to know her a little bit, but she has only been knitting, I want to say, for a year or two, but she's gotten deep into spinning, deep into fiber arts, and like processing her own wool, and just the enthusiasm that's there is just really awesome, but still real chill, real laid back. A little bit of dyeing. Let me see. There's just so many really, really good people. And let me know if you want to hear more of who I watch, because I could just go on and on and on and on and on. But I will not belabor the point. This will be our last section, and I want to invite on a very special guest if he wants to start making his way over here. And we're going to answer the last round of questions together. Good?
Yep, I think so.
All right, would you like to tell the people who you are and why you are here?
Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm here to talk a little bit about what I do for the show. It's very nerve-wracking being on this side of the camera. I don't know how you do it every week. This is terrifying. But mostly my job is to handle all the lighting, the recording, the video editing, and just making sure everything gets posted to YouTube in a timely manner, which I sometimes maybe don't do, but that's on me. You guys can't see the lights, but we usually go with a 3 light setup for the show. So we've got a couple of lights. We usually try and keep the room pretty dark. It's kind of challenging because like during the times of year changes, you might notice that the show like gets darker because the sun is going down, which is a little tough, but we usually try and keep all the lights, consistent so that, Candy Bee is well lit. You guys can also see, actually sometimes you can see it, but there's this little shotgun microphone that we use that gets the job done. Other than that, this is all shot on an iPhone, and so highly encourage anyone who has some type of like recording device. You can just kind of just start doing your own thing. You don't need a ton of equipment. I use some pretty light video editing software. Luckily, Candy Bee makes it pretty easy on me. There's not a ton of editing that I have to do, and she likes her videos pretty low on the editing side, so there's not a lot of extra stuff that I have to do. Usually it's just adding an intro, outro, and then just making sure that everything is consistent. There's nothing weird in there. So that's my job in a nutshell.
And so in case y'all missed that, this is my husband.
Oh, hi.
So when I say Mr. Rulu, Mr. B, hashtag hubby, this is the guy. Sometimes he's a model, sometimes he's my photographer. He is the executive producer of this show. You also did some music. Did you do the intro or the outro music?
I did both of them.
Oh, really? That's both? No, one of them. Okay, all right.
I mean, I created both the introduction and the outro music.
Oh, because you used like the can.
There was
the actual images are from YouTube, the shapes that come up and stuff.
So yeah, so the introduction, like the plate that comes on that shows your name and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, that's that's like that was like canned in the
Okay, but you
thing.
did the music though.
But yeah, the music
For
is
both the intro and the outro.
hmm
Wow.
yeah,
Okay. Well, I learned something new.
yeah. The outro, the intro music. Let's see. It was like they had some like pre-recorded stuff, and so I took some of the stuff that was like already on there and like just kind of mixed it together,
Oh, okay.
sped some stuff up, added some
Okay.
extra bass, and just
Okay.
kind of there was it was it's pretty simple stuff.
I
Well,
don't
to me
know.
it's pretty simple stuff,
I
but
just knit and then I
yeah,
show up.
yeah.
All right, so I thought for this last segment we're gonna do a this or that game. So I'm gonna give you two options, and we're
Okay.
gonna see, do you actually watch the show
Mm-hmm.
that you edit? And so it should be quite simple.
Okay.
This or that, metal needles or wood needles?
Metal needles,
Yep.
because I can hear it.
Yes, my
It goes tink tink tink
Can
instead
you-
of clickety clack clickety clack.
Can you do that one more
It
time?
goes tink 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 instead of clickety clack clickety
All
clack.
right, awesome.
That's the sound that I hear all day. Tink 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 tink.
Can you name the brand?
You've got a lot of different needles, but you probably mostly go with your Xiaogu
All right,
needles.
all right,
The
good job, good
Xiaogu
job.
circulars.
Yes, my preferred needle is metal, nice and slick. It's just mostly versatile. There are times where I'm in a mood for a nice wooden needle, and I actually saw a set of DPNs the other day. I was like, I do not need more DPNs, but I would eventually like to try like the Leica interchangeable wooden needles, because especially for bulkier stuff, wood. When I'm in the mood for wood, it's just a nice classic feel. But for the most part, metal gets the job done. Yarn in the right hand or the left hand?
It's in a bowl.
When I'm knitting, do I tension the loose yarn in my left hand or my right hand?
Left hand.
I'll accept that answer because it's actually both.
Oh, I don't understand the nature of the question. The
I'll
yarn's
show
in-
you later.
The yarn's in a bowl.
The ball of yarn is in a bowl, but when I'm actually knitting,
Uh-huh.
when I am knitting, this is
Uh-huh.
important, I am throwing is what they call it, with my right hand. When I purl, I actually tension the yarn in my left hand and pick the yarn. And when I'm doing color work, it's whatever goes.
But doesn't that all fall under the category of knitting?
Yeah. So I would have accepted
So,
any answer. So
okay.
you got it right. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's in the bowl.
Yes, the yarn's in the bowl.
It's in a bowl. It's a nice wooden bowl.
I knew I wouldn't regret
And
inviting
then one
you.
of them's a llama.
One of them is a llama bowl. All right.
Yeah. I have no idea what
All
we're
right.
talking
So
about.
if you understood that, you're definitely gonna flat or in the round.
In the round, mostly. I can't remember the last time you did a flat project. I feel like you like mainly knit in the round. Honestly, knitting flat is just something you see the grandma and Tom and Jerry do most of the time. Or that one movie. What was that movie that we watched with the one guy from the Get Down who was like knitting a sweater?
Oh my goodness. No, we're not gonna say the
We
title
can't
of
say
that
this.
movie. We're not saying the title of that movie. But yes, thank you.
Yes, magical people.
Your sweater that I knit you was knit flat, if you recall that.
That's true, because you knitted
but
all,
that is
all
rare.
the parts of
That was
it.
the exception.
Yeah. It's much faster to knit flat, I feel like.
All right, let's see if you can use context clues again.
Sure.
Process knitter or product knitter. Do you know what those phrases mean?
Is that like in art where you're more focused on the item, the outcome, as opposed to like, I guess for art in general, it's about the process. But that's a tough one, because I would probably put you in the process knitter, because you've described that, you in your show you've described like, some of the Stephen, West, unfortunately Stephen West, how much of a joy it was to like, knit some of those. And you do wear your shawls, but you definitely have more shawls than you have in your like permanent rotation. It's kind of strange. Like, I feel like most of the stuff that you knit that you like have expressed that you don't like is like an item for a person that specifically you're trying to like make the item for a person, but you have to finish it because you're like committed to the bit. So yeah, I would say process.
You are absolutely 100% correct. I am a process knitter. If it is not fun or at least tolerable, I'm not doing it, or I'm finding another way to do it. Unless I'm like too deep to go, sometimes that happens where I'm like deep into it and the only thing I'd left to do is to seam something. I'm like, I don't feel like seaming this, so it's not getting seamed today. Sweaters or socks?
Um, hmm. I'm gonna have to go with sweaters. Socks, I feel like, I feel like you could knit a pair of socks at this point in the dark or reading a book. You could definitely just like knock out a pair of socks. But I would probably say you probably enjoyed sweater. I mean, let's see, out of all the projects that you've made, you've expressed the biggest sense of accomplishment over your sweaters. So I would go with sweaters.
I actually wrote down socks, but this was a tough question for me. Because I'm a multi-project person. So I always have a pair of socks over here and a sweater over here. And so I need the diversity of what I'm knitting. But if the knitting police said that you had to choose, that would be a tough choice to make. Socks, I'm just a little bit burnt out on right now. So I'm probably in general, like right now in my life, leaning more towards sweater, but over the course of my knitting career, that's a hard question. But I did write down socks. So you got one wrong so far.
Got it.
Cables or lace?
I don't think you like knitting lace. So I'm going to say cables.
I literally just said 30 minutes ago that I like knitting. That's one of my favorite patterns that I like to knit.
Really?
Is lace patterns. But it's okay.
I don't know. I'm just going like mentally cataloging all of the stuff that you made. And I feel like.
Have you seen any? I've not knit very many cabled items.
Okay, all right. Well, now that I think about it, if you think about like homunculus, but no, that's not right. Not homunculus.
Ranunculus.
Sorry, that's Full Metal Alchemist. Ranunculi, and shawls. I guess that is lace knitting.
That is technically lace knitting.
I don't know why I was thinking about cables then. Maybe it's late. Haven't had dinner yet?
Yes, probably. Don't worry, there's only 2 more questions left.
Okay, good.
Alpaca or mohair?
I want to say mohair because it's just one of my favorite words to say. I always say, let me not just say a bunch of dumb things on your show. Alpaca, golly. I feel like you very rarely knit with either one of those things. Like mostly, you've got is it like Shetland Farms? Like I can't remember. I shouldn't be shouting out random places, but you've got a lot of like fleece from sheep, like sheep fleece.
Yeah.
That you process and dye, but like I don't know how much alpaca you've gotten.
Fair. The answer is mohair.
Yeah, I would say mohair.
Because you're right, I've never knit with alpaca before. I've knit with Angora and knit with mohair and cotton. So and obviously...
Is the question, what do you prefer?
Yeah, it's this or that.
Oh, okay.
So by default, it would have to be mohair. But I will say alpacas are much cuter than goats.
Is that what mohair comes from?
Yes, mohair comes from
I had no idea.
Goats.
I didn't know what that was.
Yes.
Yeah, I would pick alpacas then.
I actually do have a little bit of, I bought like a few ounces of alpaca at the last Fiber Festival, and so I am going to blend that with some wool and try that out, because how else would you try that besides just buying a whole bunch of crap and doing an experiment? This is the last question, and then you are forever released.
Okay.
And you never have to do this again.
Got it. Until the 200th episode.
Until the 2. Well, fun fact, after we do this episode, I'm not putting any more numbers in the episode name. It'll just be a title. I don't want to deal with numbers anymore.
Do you think the algorithm doesn't like that?
I don't care what the algorithm likes. I don't like doing it, because 9 times out of 10, I update the title wrong, because that is my only job. I have to write the description and write the title, and I just feel like it's one less thing to worry about, is trying to figure out what number episode I'm on.
That's fair.
Knitting in public, cozy or cringe?
Spinning in public, cozy or cringe? Spinning in public, witchcraft? um, it's cozy. Like, I feel like in this day and age, people enjoying. Actually, this is a this or that. I would say cozy.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll explain my answer.
Go for it.
You know, in this day and age, like, you know, engaging with a craft like, you know, knitting feels countercultural in like kind of a good way. Like, you know, I'm you know, maybe I'm just old, but you know, I feel like knitting is definitely engaging your brain. You know, it's one of those things where like most of the time, if someone's out knitting, if someone else knits and they're just like, oh, like I knit too, is like a way of like connecting with people, you know? And it's, to me, it feels like so much more engaging, than just like doom scrolling. You know, there's so much doom and gloom. You know, making a, you know, a little swatch or some, or you know, some little, you know, project, I think is a fun way to, you know, keep your mind occupied, but you know, also not totally disengage and disassociate from reality. So, yeah, I would encourage people to, I would encourage people to engage in more of like, you know, hobbies, as long as it's not, you know, don't like start, you know, break out a skee ball to actually, like, that'd be kind of cool if someone just carried around a skee ball table and just started doing skee ball. But you know, within reason, you know, engage with your hobbies, especially if it's like creative, you know.
That's what I say. I say it's cozy. I love knitting when I'm out and about. I love the conversations I have. I don't care. People come up to me all the time like, oh, my mom crochets, and obviously I'm not crocheting. I don't care. I just like to talk to people, and I probably talk to people that I normally would not have talked to, or people seem to spark positive memories for people. It's a great way to meet people. That's how I met my spinning buddy. Yeah, I love it. The only time I usually don't take it on dates. I usually don't take it. I'll take it to my kids' school if I'm just kind of waiting around for them. But if they're doing a performance, or I'm focusing on them, or they're trying to be in the limelight, I try not to like just, you know, pull focus from them and be in the moment with them. But for the most part, everything else is fair game. I don't care. And 9 times out of 10, I am able to be more present and more focused if I'm able to knit while I'm out and about. I stay longer than I would have, talk more than I would have if I have my emotional support knitting or spinning. And I get a lot. Like I said, I knit with a friend once a month, and we knit usually in public parks. And the amount of people who come up to us who don't, they're like, what, literally, what are you doing? And I at least have like the memory. Before I started spinning, I have like the picture of Sleeping Beauty in my mind. I know what a spinning wheel looks like. But there's some people who are literally like, that's where yarn comes from? That's where, are you making thread, or do you sew with that? What is that? And so I think that that's also a little educational too. And small kids get to come up to us and they're like, oh, this came from a sheep, and they touch it, and it's pretty cool. That is all the questions I had. Once again, those questions came from Purl on Fire. I'll have them linked below. I will have my Instagram linked below. Please like, follow, subscribe. If you had answers to these questions, let me know. If you have YouTubers you want to shout out in the comments, let me know. Share this video. If there's questions I did not answer, I did get like, because I asked for questions and then I found these questions. So I do have other questions that I got that I'll incorporate in future episodes. And so keep the questions coming if you have questions after all of that. Do you have any last words?
That's it. That's all, folks.
Peace.